Alright, that fermented kraut that I started a couple weeks ago had real nice flavor and aroma and everything, was basically ready to use. So my wife went online and looked for a instant pot recipe to use it in, some of it. And this is cooking a couple pork tenderloins and sauerkraut in an instant pot. I'll put a link to the recipe down in the description because it did come from a website. And I did modify it a little bit, but not much. So we went to Costco and they had these really nice pork tenderloins. They had double packs of them on sale for $3 off, I think it was. So we wound up getting 2 of these double packs like this for under $10 it was. So, these tenderloins here are only about $2.50 a piece, and they are really beautiful. So I'm just going to start by opening them up, drying them off a little bit. And I knew they wouldn't fit in the Instant Pot the way they were, so I'm going to cut them in half there so I can squish everything in there for browning them up and stuff. I just cut them in half, and then they told you to season it, and I'm just taking and just going to coat them on all sides with some sea salt and a little bit of pepper to start them off. And this is our first time trying this recipe, so I think you could probably use any kind of pork loin and do the same thing with it. So there I've got the meat a little bit seasoned up there, and I'm just going to put it out of the way and get the cutting board washed up for the next step. So meat's ready to go, and then they said they used some apple juice, and we actually had some pretty much fresh apple cider that I decided that I was going to use with it. So I'm going to just get that ready and pour that in the cup there. And then you're supposed to use 16 ounces of sauerkraut, and here it is. You should smell what this stuff smells like when you first take that lid off. It's pretty amazing and really has great flavor and everything right now. So, we decided it was time to try and use it. I tell you though, using these jars, doing a half gallon of it, really was kind of messy compared to doing a crock, because when this really went crazy and got fermenting, it really did make a mess as juice came, pushing out of the lid there. So I did actually have to go back and add some salt water to keep it moist inside there about halfway through the fermenting process. So I got my sauerkraut ready to go there, and then I've got a big sweet onion that I'm going to just kind of cut up next. I figured I'd go with the sweeter onion for this recipe to go with the sauerkraut flavor. I'm just going to slice that up fairly thin, not too thin. And then I've got a fresh Fuji apple there I'm going to use. Now it's time to get this Instant Pot, this dinky pot going, and I'm just going to set it there on the sear mode first. And I'm going to add a little bit of oil to the bottom of it to help me sear the meat. And then I'm just going to place the pork tenderloins in there. And I got 3 of them in there, but I had to wait a minute or two till they started cooking, until I could actually move them and squeeze the 4th one in there. And there it is, I got them all in there. Kind of a tight fit, but it did fit. And I'm just going to move these around a little bit and try to get them browned up on all sides here. And that did take, it probably took about 10-12 minutes to get everything all browned up and ready to go. In the meantime, I'm just going to hack up the Fuji apple, and these are really super sweet this year. It was a good year for the Fujis. So I'm just going to slice it coarsely like that. Then I just played with the meat a little bit longer, and finally I wound up getting it fairly browned on all sides there, and ready to add the rest of the ingredients. I was surprised how good this pot does do at browning in the end. So now I poured in the apple cider there, and I'm gonna put in the apples here, and just gonna break up the onions a little bit and throw them in the top of the pot there. And with that pork and apples and cider in there, oh, this is really starting to smell good now. So I got the onions all put in the pot next, and now it's time to I'm not mixing anything up. I'm just putting it in the pot like they said, in the layers like this, and now it's really smelling good. The sauerkraut really adds that final aroma to it. So everything's in the pot now, and it's time to just seal it up and go to the pressure mode. Now the recipe said to use 20 minutes per pound of meat. I actually have about 2.5 pounds here, but I figured you really didn't need much more than 40 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this pot into the pressure mode for 40 minutes there, and there's why there's so much background noise. You can see I had the dehydrator running with the Fuji apples in it for a couple days now, trying to get them all put up. And the pot, when it comes up to pressure, it counts down, and when it hits BB, it means it's done and just in the stay warm mode. So I let it sit for a couple minutes like they said in the recipe, and then it was time to, just kind of let the steam out slowly so you could open the pot and enjoy it. And oh my God, the aroma is just amazing. It really is nice, and there it is. Everything all cooked up good, and it turned out that the pork actually came out like just so tender that I was able to take a couple forks and just pull it apart. Didn't have to slice it or anything. It's kind of like a pulled pork and sauerkraut recipe in the end. So I broke it up a couple forks, and there it is. It's all ready to serve and eat. So altogether, this did take a little bit under an hour to prepare. It's not super instant with an Instant Pot, but it sure did come out nice looking. So there it is, the pork, and then we had some fresh Swiss chard or rainbow chard that we picked, and you can't forget the homemade applesauce to go with it. A little bit of that in the corner, chunky homemade applesauce, and there's dinner tonight, and boy was that really good. We also wound up with some leftovers too, so that's a good thing. And we really enjoyed it, and it's a recipe that we would do again. And my wife had made some maple walnut biscotti to have for dessert that really went good with it too. And plus we do have enough for another meal with some noodles tomorrow night. So in the end, it does kind of destroy the texture of the sauerkraut when you eat it, but the flavor just goes right into the pork, and it's just amazing. So, this is one of those recipes that we will do again. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.